What's up guys, it's Widgeon TV here. The Native American call it the spirit of lonely places. Some in Canada call it the winter cannibal, but to the rest of us, it's known as the Wendigo. The story of the Wendigo has been passed down for generations, warning of the dangers of the winter cold and starvation. Even to this day, sightings of this creature still persist, making it one of the longest running myths in American history. Today, we continue our look into the real-life history and folklore of Fallout 76's newly added creatures. We will also be speculating on what role the Wendigo will play in Fallout 76. If you haven't seen my other videos about Mothman, the Greenbrier Hotel, or the Flatwoods monster, I highly recommend going and watching those videos now. Unlike the other three creatures I've covered so far, the stories of the Wendigo are not necessarily native to West Virginia, but there have been plenty of sightings of the Wendigo in that state, and because there are so many other famous cryptids native to West Virginia, the Wendigo fits perfectly into its newly adopted home of West Virginia for Fallout 76. Now, the origins of the Wendigo folklore are extremely fuzzy, but most enthusiasts agree that the story can be tracked back to a group of fur trappers, possibly in the mid-1700s, located somewhere around the Great Lakes in between the United States and Canada. These trappers were woefully unprepared for a particularly harsh winter storm. They were caught out in the wilderness and forced to construct a temporary camp, hoping that the storm would pass in only a few days. But when the food became scarce and the brutal cold became unbearable, one of the campers surrendered peacefully in his sleep to the frost-filled air. But the winter storm continued to rage. One of the other campers, who felt he could not last another freezing night without a meal, in desperation decided to eat his former colleague. As he was digging into his first meal in presumably a few days, a terrifying transformation occurred. This man turned into a large creature as tall as a tree, with a lipless mouth and jagged teeth. Its breath was a strange hiss, its footprints full of blood, and it ate any man, woman, or child who'd ventured into its territory. So that means the other campers also met their fate that night as well. After doing this, he stripped off his heavy fur garb and walked naked into the forest to find his next meal, thus ending the origin story of the Wendigo. Now, because of the Wendigo's insatiable appetite, the Native American adopted this story to signify things like greed and overconsumption. The Wendigo story also coined a medical term and diagnosis called Wendigo psychosis. This is when a human gets possessed by the Wendigo spirit after being in a situation where you need food and have no other choice other than cannibalism. There is a real-life case where somebody was charged with Wendigo psychosis, and it happens to be very similar to the folklore story I told earlier. What happened was that during the winter of 1878, a man named Swift Runner and his family were starving. His eldest son had already died. They were 25 miles away from emergency food supplies, but instead of venturing out and getting those supplies, Swift Runner ended up butchering and eating his wife along with his 5 remaining children. Given that he resorted to cannibalism so near to food supplies, and that he killed and consumed the remains of all those present, it was revealed that Swift Runner's case was not a case of pure cannibalism as a last resort to avoid starvation, but rather a man with Wendigo psychosis. He eventually confessed and was executed by authorities. Alright, so there's the folklore. Now let's talk about Fallout 76. In the trailer so far, we've seen a few different snippets of the Wendigo. We can see it in 2 different areas. In this video here, he looks to be inhabiting a snowy area, and now that we know the folklore, this makes a lot of sense. But we also see him in what looks like a swampy area. Now there's nothing that I found in its folklore that suggests it might ever be in a marsh area, but maybe we can presume that this marsh is at the base of a mountain, and the Wendigo comes down here to hunt for food. I also imagine that this creature will be a endgame creature. By the looks of it in game, it looks truly fierce, and that's backed up by its truly terrifying folklore. So make sure to look out for this creature when you play Fallout 76. Alright, that's all I have on the Wendigo. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out my small channel. Also, consider following me on Twitter. It's the best place for me to keep in contact with you guys. But anyway, this has been Widgeon TV. Thanks for watching, guys.